Hi, I'm Celeste, and welcome to Find Your Purple. My message today is the power of the word. I listened to a sermon this morning randomly about 4 a.m. Sometimes if I don't want to get up, I'll just flip on a sermon or a podcast or something that strikes. I don't plan it. I just kind of scroll through, kind of bleary-eyed, and pick something. And this morning it was a sermon from Andrew Womack about the power of word. And it really got me thinking about how I misuse words sometimes. I know as a kid you had the phrase, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And I see now that really, really, really is wrong. There are times in my past, 30, 40, or 50 years ago, that I could think to a conversation where someone said something that I think was mean, and that I can still remember it that long ago. I think of a couple times where I've said some things that I can remember from 30 and 40 years ago that I wish I didn't say. In the Bible, it talks about the power of the tongue, and that the tongue, though a tiny little muscle, is like the rudder on a huge ship. It can do so much damage. It can heal or it can hurt. And the power of the word is very clear in the Bible, in that the Bible is God's word, and God created the world with words. And so I think from a faith standpoint, you can find a lot of verses that support the power of word. But even in the secular, if you're not on the faith page, even on the secular, there's, I'm sure, TED Talks, and I know they're podcasts, and if you Google the power of the word, there's studies that show hooking electrodes to plants and then having plants talk to for a week lovingly and checking the results, and talking to plants negatively and checking for the results, that plants really respond to positive talks. There was one study, and I think it was back in the 70s, and there was a man that always was a negative talk. He would come in and he'd scream at him or whatever, and then it got to the point when he would walk in the room, the plants would shudder. And I think it's fascinating. I mean, again, that's scientific, but I think we hold on to the negative more than we do the positive sometimes. So even if it's self-talk, I think if you listen to advertising or news, I know they talk about the flu season, and everywhere you go, people are talking about the flu season. Or I live in the Austin area, allergies. People will talk about them on and on and on. But the more you talk about them, the more likely it is you're going to experience it. And so sometimes if you hear someone saying something negative, as silly as it sounds, negate it. If you're sitting in the car in a radio and they're talking about how everyone's going to get the flu, then just say out loud, I'm not going to get the flu. Not me. You cut it off so your brain doesn't take it in, because your brain isn't filtering all this stuff. Even sarcastic comments. I have a tendency to have a dry sense of humor, but I've read somewhere that sarcastic comments, they can hurt, and sometimes they have a base of truth of some kind. And so when you joke with someone, be careful how you say it. And husbands and wives and relationships, I mean, you refer to someone as the ball, the chain, or the old hag, and you're joking, you might want to rethink it, because those things have impact. Same thing with talking about your children. When you lovingly call them a nickname, but that nickname is derogatory in some way, cut it off. The studies are showing all of those things do take seed in a person's mind. So while we can use this for ourselves, and with no money, no cost, and very little time, you can talk to yourself at the mirror when you're doing your makeup or your hair, or you can talk to yourself in the car. You can build yourself up with words. Find a few phrases. You are beautiful. You are confident. Then say, I am beautiful. I am confident. And it actually can make a difference. and also with others. You can say encouraging words as easily as you can say negative words, and it gives someone encouragement. I know the other day I was at a conference, and a woman, and she was probably in her 80s, she came up to me and told me my eyes were very pretty. And I just thought that was so nice, because there's times I've thought about telling someone I love their blouse, or I thought their hair was great, or that they are, their eyes were pretty, or even that they were pretty, and I never step out and do it. And I realized how good that made me feel. It was just an unsolicited comment from a stranger, and I just thought I need to give that encouragement to someone else sometime. Just a small compliment. You don't know what kind of day they're having. And speaking of days, I know people will say, how are you, or how's your job going, or some such, and I know I'm not positive all the time with my responses. I want to downplay it, I guess. And I think now that's an opportunity to help me or hurt me. So I've got to be conscious of the words I say. So again, it's like exercise, but this is something that doesn't hurt, doesn't take but a few seconds, and doesn't cost any money. And you can build yourself up with words you say, or build your spouse up, or build your friends up, or build your children up by simply choosing some words that you say and biting your tongue about words that you could have said that might have been harmful. So that's it for today. As always, grab your cup of tea, sit back, and let's start sharing. Until next time, bye-bye.